All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning back in. I hope you're doing well. And again, happy Father's Day to any of you dads out there. We spent the last video, if you're coming straight from it, talking about dads. With all I've learned from mine, how much I appreciate him, and hopefully what you guys have been thinking about from your dads. But at this point, we're sliding on into Father's Day afternoon. I don't know if your dads would like mine, but I know I got the U.S. Open up on the big screen behind us here as we're streaming. Looks like crazy last day to the big golf tournament. Last I saw, there were a handful of guys all tied up. So could be a roller coaster finish as they wrap up that tournament. I know my dad's enjoying it. Probably gonna watch some hockey after that. So. Yeah, let's move on. We got a lot more work to do here, so let's get this starting slide out of the way. Last episode, we sorted shulker box after shulker box of all kinds of good stuff. From our cave adventures, we'd been to the end and gathered up some of that stuff into a box that I guess we'd either never put away or who knows what. Hey, it's always an open question for us. But I think our inventory is now pretty well under control. All these chests should be... Wow, I'm going to have to let this world catch up here a little bit. All these are good. And I think that means that all of our green should be set. So let's move that over. These are just a little bit point and click because we want to leave the two appropriate spots for our tools and our consumables. Our tools, we need to pull that out to keep it in good shape, and we're going to need to do a lot of fortune axing. Everything else looks to be in pretty good shape, which is fine and dandy just for the moment. Let's go ahead and drop that. And let's put this away, this away. I'm trying to train myself a little bit to... actually, I want to keep those just in case anything surprises us. But we don't need torches. We're going to kind of max our inventory space here. And let's start with our coal. So we'll grab as much as we can. And then we should reclaim a little bit more space here. And that should be... Oh, you know what? Totem's not going to do us any good in here. Okay, this is enough to get us started. Oh, and let's just start with the big axe. Now, we're going to get a ton of XP here, and I'm not going to save all this for future repairs. We want to get... This whole trip was about getting our... supplies increase because we want to be building, and part of that means a ton of coal, and we need gold for apples and resupplying there. We need iron to finish up our second beacon so we don't have to have the emerald. We'll eventually switch emerald over and do another beacon completely of it, but all in good time there. The main priorities right now are getting a bunch of coal because we need to cook a whole bunch of sandstone to make smooth for our building. Cooking smooth sandstone. You know, if you go into a desert and you harvest sandstone, you'll get sandstone, which is great, but it's not very durable. If a creeper should go off, you can lose half a tower just to his blast. It's fair, you know. In real life too, sandstone is a fairly soft building material. It can erode pretty quickly, and you know, if you were building, say, a fortress in the 16th or 17th century, as we are, you probably wouldn't just go with a base sandstone. If it's the stone you got at hand and around, you probably would, because why not? But it's not going to be the most resilient, right? It'll it'll certainly stop some bullets and things like that, and be better than, you know, just wood or not having a wall at all. Um, but you start mashing it with some cannonballs, or even perhaps I don't know how much the overlap is here, but even some stone trebuchet style, that kind of stuff. They're probably gonna, you know, succumb pretty quickly, not withhold indefinitely. So this is a good step, not only for the gameplay, because we don't want creepers to destroy our hard work, but also for realistic setting, you know, or kind of story setting, right? And again, for those, I know we've had a lot of new visitors since we've really last been focused on the base at all. Our last world, World 4, which seems like an age ago now, because it was like all the previous worlds were fairly short-lived before we lost them. That had come out right around the 500th anniversary of Ferdinand Magellan's circumnavigation. You know, his not literal, he didn't make it, but his expedition's circumnavigation of the globe. It was the first Western-based expedition to do so. And the Straits of Magellan certainly bear his name. A number of islands and places where he made contact along the way have mementos of that. But at the time, his expedition wasn't so. There was exploration. Nobody knew how wide the Pacific was, how long that journey would take, or what they would encounter in between. But he, or they, were going to known places. The Far East and the desire to reach the Portuguese fortresses and trading outposts on the far side of the world, literally, those were already real things. And that's kind of the context, more than the expedition or anything, you know, trying to equate to it. It was this idea of having a time when you were literally on the edge of the map. You weren't off it, but you were about as close as you could get. You know, there was high value places that had high value things that you could provide only by being set up there and trading. But you would quite literally be surrounded by unknown lands and peoples and cultures and anything else, what have you, except for, you know, probably more than one journey. But, you know, think in terms of some of the missionaries and people that got dropped off on these very first expeditions. You know, they'd get to a point where you'd come and find a new island, and there would be people there with an unfamiliar language and different customs. And, you know, these people would say, well, this is where the Pope, or, you know, my faith has told me that I'm meant to be. See you guys, I'm staying. And, you know, off goes the little tiny ship into a speck on the horizon, and there they are. You know, nothing left. And that's, you know, more from the trading standpoint of where, you know, think Roanoke, Virginia, for those of us in America. The first colonists that were like, all right, well, you know, the ship came over, we got passage, they dropped us off at what we hope is a suitable site, and maybe they'll be back in a year or two. In this case, we don't expect anybody to come back. We're on our own here in Minecraft, but we've been left to shift for ourselves, and so far we're doing a pretty good job of it, I think. Not to get ahead of ourselves, we've certainly nearly lost it several times, but we've got a fairly well-established base here. We'll have plenty of chance to look upstairs at it for anybody who hasn't seen previous videos. We've got a number of friendly villagers. We've learned the local languages. We've brought some of them close at hand, not right on top of us, but very close neighbors, and given them luxury accommodations, a taste for our lifestyle. And in exchange, we've obtained trade goods from them and these emeralds that they use as a medium of exchange, which is fantastic. We like them. So we're doing very well in that sense, but we're a little leery of our security. We want to make sure that our outpost, which is now becoming known, throughout Slow Cooker, our world, throughout the residents as a now not only center for trade, but maybe a target for theft. Occasionally, we have pillagers coming. I think they're getting wind that we're relatively rich, and they want a piece of that. They want to take what's ours. So our walls are going up, and in the context of history too. Now, maybe not so much on the trading outposts, although the earliest ones would have reflected kind of what we had. A very basic camp. We did not do an intermediary wooden stockade or anything, but that would have very likely been a first security measure. Between tents on the beach and looking nervously at the natives as you kind of gave them food and trinkets and things to make sure that they didn't come back in the middle of the night with weapons after you. But yeah, very, very short before any ships would have left or anything like that, you would have very likely raised a wooden stockade where you could have a few people on the lookout, and whether it's animals or hostile people or anything else, you can kind of sleep through the night with a little bit of secure feeling, knowing that if anybody does come, they won't be able to at least slip in amongst you unseen, and you can mount some kind of a defense. And then over time, you would want to convert much of that to stone, and that's twofold. For one thing, it's the security part, right? Stone is going to be more secure than wood. You can't burn it down. It can't rot out. You don't have to maintain it as much. And if something comes along and starts heaving cannonballs at you, it's going to be a lot more resistant than wood, which will just splinter and probably shoot chunks of wood over everybody that's inside. So yeah, wood would have been a preference, and the building times would have varied greatly. 1066, when the Normans invaded England and left a string of castles behind it to show their occupation, those took generations to kind of evolve and build. And visiting some of those sites, it's amazing. What we think of it, and this is a most widely known or probably recognized of many of them, because it's in movies and all kinds of stuff. But the Tower of London, it's a large complex now in the city, and lots of different history. And certainly if you visit or if you watch a documentary or anything like that, you'll see that a lot of the different buildings within were erected at different times and served different purposes over the duration. But at the very beginning, it was the White Tower and the White Tower alone. And, that was a massive project in its own right. And considering that those and similar buildings were going up all over England, at least across the southern breadth of England, where William's conquerors had gone up the Thames and then across, kind of consolidating their power and getting the local rulers subjugated and then on board, replaced with their own people. The string of castles went up, and they really were reminiscent a little of our single tower. That's the means that you had at the time. That was the resources we had. We had enough to build something to keep us safe and live in, but not enough means or tools or anything like that to just keep building indefinitely. So we took a bunch of time to kind of reset. And of course, in the spirit of gameplay and all that, we were also doing a lot of other fun stuff. We had dragons to fight, and we had villagers to accommodate, and weapons to enchant, and diamonds to mine, and all that other good stuff. So here we are, 160 episodes later, and it's been a little break, but we're cycling back. We want to impress the local area, not only by making ourselves secure, but by making a formidable and massive structure that will attract attention and make other local area people want to come and associate with us, trade with us, be on good terms with us, because we are a power player. We're now here to stay. And, again, Minecraft is a sandbox. This is vanilla Minecraft. There's no mods here. I'm not talking. This is just fun mental games and role play kind of story background stuff to keep the world interesting and give it a little bit of life. So no, there will not be other civilizations coming to actually trade with us. But as we see pillagers and things show up, certainly that's kind of a fun thing to play as you're building a base, because everybody builds a base in Minecraft. That's just a rite of passage, how it goes. And some are cool and massive and modern. Others are the medieval castle. We're trying to just modify that just a little bit. This is going to kind of be the lower, more squat coastal fortress, where you weren't necessarily trying to make a massive keep on a hill whose greatest threat was archers shooting arrows up at you, or the height that a catapult could launch, a fire pot or something up over walls. These were ones where height was no problem. You were worried about cannonballs coming and smashing through the walls or knocking them down, because a lot of the medieval castles that are in ruins now, they fell when curtain walls and things just couldn't hold up, when siege engines had already evolved with trebuchets and some of those kind of things, to where, if you couldn't root out the people laying a castle to siege from external support, inevitably they could take down a castle. When cannon warfare came along, that was just a joke. It's like, really, you're going to go inside that tower? We'll give you till the count of 10, and we're going to light this fuse. So think that over real quick. And, that's kind of it. That's why so many castles remain to this day. They weren't all just leveled through wars or anything else like that, because so quickly they went from being symbols of security and force to being irrelevant militarily, and they could remain seats of power. A lord or a baron that's out, kind of in the countryside, not, I'm not necessarily talking in the city of London, although that remained a symbol too. That's why the mint was there, why companies of soldiers would remain in barracks there, and why it was held as a prison. It wasn't secure against external assault, but it was still a formidable structure and could be made secure to all but an advancing army, right? So, because militarily, in the sense of armies in the field, they became irrelevant and were not strategic points anymore. They were preserved as residents and local seats of government or power, just because they never eventually got broken in warfare, because they weren't relevant to warfare anymore. That had passed by so quickly that there was never a war to go through and kind of eliminate them all. The coastal garrisons and fortresses had a similar fate, but it was more airfare, even up to the point of, early battleships just shooting a cannonball into a wall from a ship would take a lot of time. And while ships can make can put up a barricade or blockade and seal off a port, it's a lot tougher to lay a ground-based fortress to siege from the sea. Generally, water and all that kind of stuff can be brought over land, and as long as that fortress is protecting a harbor and keeping vessels from getting in, that would mean that small craft and things like that can move around and not get caught. Hopefully, you're not as cut off. So it's a lot more difficult to, not to say that it can't be done, but it's a lot more difficult to just completely capture a fortress only from sea. Usually, you have to have some kind of combined assault, land and sea, to make that happen. So they remained somewhat militarily viable, and you could still mount land-based defenses against ships from those types of fortresses. And just by the very nature of their squat, thick, low walls, even as rounds became explosive and things like that, they just couldn't penetrate enough to do the damage. Whereas a tall, thin wall of a tower in a medieval castle, it wouldn't take many shots at all for that to fall and become completely useless. So they had a longer life until aerial bombardment came along, and then they became historic sites as well. And once again, it was just a matter of there was nothing left to really make them, and not all did survive because things like World War II, they were still being clung to as defenders of ports. And if a particular port came under siege and they were mounting anti nautical pillboxes and things like that in an old fortress, that fortress was gone. The battle of fleet of battleships, whether it was Allied or Axis or anything else, would just come along and lay it to waste. So I'm sure a lot of those structures did fall along the way, but the ones that do remain, by that point, or if there was conflict in that area, ground defenses had quickly evolved to say, this is not what we need. What we need are a bunch of scattered pillboxes along a hillside or along the coastline that are small and offer very small visibility, where basically we're just extending a mortar or an artillery barrel and shooting out from underground, basically. So it all evolves. It's all a changing thing. But yeah, the castles and things that we know today when we're tourists and we go visit places, those all existed because technology just made them too irrelevant too quickly to still be manned as a defense. So they were never broken. So we're looking at a period where likely naval powers would have some light gunpowder arms, and not just small arms and that kind of stuff, but some degree of cannons. I'm still thinking the age of sail, not the age of steam. So keep that as a reference, but there would have been maybe some combinations. I mean, again, it's not outside the realm of possibility that we could have flying machines and things like that around, but at least for this base in this area, we're trying to keep it kind of again, that broadly ranging 16th to 18th centuries, kind of that era before, really before the 1860s, when ironclads became a thing, and wooden ships too were eventually replaced. So that's kind of our time. I don't know. I just talked about that for a while, but we haven't done a whole lot of talking about it. I know I forgot to switch my axis here, but we've got plenty of fortuning to do here. I just thought of something. We talked about it, and I hadn't done it yet, but we should be doing all of this first. We talked about it, but I have never, to this point, had to worry about item wear on my. What is a small stack? Oh, here. Let's just put these golds away. Is that all the gold? Should give us enough. Yeah, I've never had to deal with item wear on my fortune pick. And by breaking iron and gold into raw or copper, I know we looked at the nether gold. Did we look at that for the regular gold ore? I think we're supposed to fortune that. Certainly copper and iron of all forms. But I think deep slate and regular gold ore as well will give us raw versions of gold ore as opposed to nuggets. And it's that we want to. This should give us the wrinkle that we need to keep on going here for a little bit. Now, what? These are all done. Let's get 4. We'll do them all at once. We might as well have these cooking while we're processing here, right? We got 8 good ovens. Can cook up a bunch of iron. And then we should have lots of coal to replace them. Lucky us. So, what have you guys thought of 17? Have you been mining your iron and your gold with fortune picks out in the field to get this, or have you been bringing them back like I have? I don't know why, but I've seen so many videos where people are like, oh yeah, you can't use Silk Touch. You have to use Fortune. And it's like, well, yeah, you want to use Fortune now, but it's no different than mining diamonds or redstone or anything else. Why on earth would you break them with the fortune pick in the field and fill up your inventory? Just bring them all back and do them like this. With the exception of, you got to stand here and do this for an episode, but the return, the not having to, how many extra episodes do we have just running back and forth through the nether? I'm trying to get to the iron fields and all that if we were filling up shulker after shulker with this raw ore. So I don't get it. I think this gets handled now just like coal or redstone or diamonds or anything else. We bring it back and break it and process it. 6. Maybe keep these. I don't think it's going to matter too much. I mean, they'll be off by like a stack's worth. Oh, we've already got so much. This might actually be a full stove right here. There we go. Get that one more cooking, and we can run everything else through. And we are going to have iron coming out of our ears, which will be nice. I don't know if we want to build with iron too much yet. Again, keeping distinguished between modern type builds and this historical particular build. We still want to have building materials. Now copper I think for roofs and stuff inside our walls here could be very cool. So I'm just going to dump a few of these. By the time we get done, we should have plenty more stacks. Ready to go. But I do wish there was something to make this a little more efficient. Maybe there is. Maybe smarter people than I have already figured out how to break these. I don't know how it would be, though. I mean, it would have to be like some kind of a mechanism that's detect and place so that you could stand and break. And maybe, maybe that's it. Some kind of an observer, something, dispenser that would then place the next ore block as you go. So at least you don't have to, do the back and forth placing and breaking. But, we'll worry about that down the road. Again, for anybody that's new, hasn't watched me, no mods, no duping, anything like that. I'm not saying it's wrong or that you shouldn't go above the nether or anything like that. I'm not going to, though. It's not the way that I play. So appreciate your feedback and your comments. I understand that there are means to accelerate. You can get all the iron you want. Just dupe it, but we're not doing that here. Part of hardcore is being able to go and say, I got everything I needed to do for that build, or to achieve that advancement or whatever by hand. That was part of the game. So that's how I play it, and it makes, I hope, for entertaining but fairly chill streams where we can all kind of catch up on how we're playing, what's going on, and to that end, what's going on in your guys' worlds. Has everybody kind of had their fill of the 17 content and is now moving on to other stuff? Are you Minecraft for life, or did you have a little surge of it again with the new update, and then now it's on to other games, variety type stuff? For me, I'm never far from Minecraft. It is by far the top background activity that I see out of PC gaming. And like I said, while I'm recording this, I got the U.S. Open going on. It's still waiting for some of the leaders to actually go off. So lots more to come there, but as I've said, in context of like football too, but golf is another great example. I don't want to remain riveted to golf. If I was just sitting on the couch being like, what's going to happen next in the golf? I would be asleep, and that wouldn't be unwelcome. I'm an enjoying and an enthusiastic napper when it comes to it. I don't, for that very reason. As I've said, I am a little too enthusiastic when it comes down to it, and often find if I do take a nap, I wake up at like 10 o'clock at night, having not had dinner, totally gotten my body clock off rhythm and just a mess. So try to avoid that, but sometimes the power of golf compels me, and I succumb. But that's where Minecraft things like that. I talked about recently. I did a jigsaw puzzle. Activities that you have where you're not just sitting there mindlessly watching a movie or a YouTube video or anything else, you're doing something too, keeping your brain engaged and kind of multitasking on that. That's how I enjoy doing it. And it's just that it's one of the ways that I enjoy playing Minecraft. It doesn't preclude others. There's a lot of times, especially now that I've been recording, where I don't have anything. I'm just solely focused on the game and what I've got going on, what we're working on a given project. Um, so yeah, it can be engrossing in its own right, and a lot of times I'll find I won't play Minecraft if there's something I want to pay attention to on TV or online or something like that, because it distract. I'll look up and I'm like, oh, that's over. I don't like doing this, but I've got to. We'll have to fix that eventually. I mean, we got to fix this whole floor. We've never really finished it up. But for breaking blocks in a basement, it works pretty well. Um, so yeah, how about you guys? Do you dabble with Minecraft? Do you not play at all? Just happen to find this somehow and enjoy watching rather than playing? If you do you play hardcore? Do you Are you a builder instead and just work out of the creative world, or are you somewhere in between with a form of survival? Maybe you've got a server you like to play on with others and have a community going in a world. For me, I've always been kind of individual in games. I like to be able to come and go, and I think when you get into servers, there's a lot of tendency to expect people to, at a minimum, be on your timeline, if not exceeding it. Right? Um, you want people to be there for the collaborative sessions, and it doesn't matter if others have conflicts with those. You try to pick a time that works for the most people, and then it's kind of accommodate, and that can be tough, especially when servers so often draw from all over the globe. Have community members from different time zones, different parts of the world, and some people may create content full time. Others may have other dependencies and demands on their time. Some may try to be flexible, but it really starts pulling away from other commitments and friends and those kind of things to um, make it happen. And early on, I decided I didn't like that part of it. I didn't like even some of the games that were MMORPGs, where you had a bunch of different players in the world and you could kind of do as you liked. Once you got dependencies on raids and things like that, it would be unacceptable to leave others hanging on that. And some of those raids and things, those can be like 4-hour commitments. And if I wanted to at this point, I could make those kinds of commitments for that amount of time. I might have to move some stuff around or plan in advance, but there were times when I couldn't commit to that. I used to have a lot of on-call dependencies and things like that, where I'd love to say I'm going to be here all night, but if something broke, guess what gives when it's a matter of your job or the video game that you're playing? Guess what? It's it's not your job that goes first. And some people have a real tough time appreciating that when they're not either balancing those two or don't have an on-call type of requirement to their job. And I talked about it a long time ago in one of my videos about the responsibilities of being on call. And having been a leader of people who have that, what's the base expectation? How can you do that that's not just um, leaving people hanging? Because there's always a chain, and if you don't do your job, then somebody else is going to um, get pulled on the hook for it. So it can be tough. It can be real tough to um, balance all that out. But that was a big part of why I never got into group or collaborative type gaming, because I couldn't ever commit um, to being there for a whole session, whatever that session may have been. And I don't know what the best way to do this is. I think it's this, though. But I think I've kind of adapted to that over the years, that I have a particular play style that I think works real well when it comes to games, to my own kind of enjoyment of them. And a lot of that comes to I'll have a YouTube or something going in the background, or maybe a Twitch or something like that, and I'll be following that as I play. So I do have collaborative experiences. They're just disjointed, or they're not in the same game world. If it's through Twitch that I'm kind of engaged back and forth in, or I'm just sharing the experience in a YouTube of how somebody else approaches the same game I'm playing. It's every bit as collaborative as any other play style. It has a different application or means of being established. So flexibility helps a lot, but that again helps a lot of gameplay. Learning to be adaptive to play styles and switching up as circumstances need it. That's how you have a lot of success in games, not just being locked into the I am a archer hunter at all times and I will never use a two-handed melee weapon because I'm opposed to them. Oh, you can say that and that's fine, but at some point along the way, you're going to find out that that other maybe ranged mystic goes down a lot easier if you just run up to him and hit him with an axe than it does if you try to pew 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 him with arrows. It's that kind of adaptability. The next time you may need to be at range. If you try to get close quarters, the ogre with the maul may flatten you like a pancake, so it's a lot better to use those arrows. And that kind of adaptability, it serves well in life, but it also serves well for me in just play styles and keeping things working on a timeline that worked for me. So yeah, I've always been pretty individual, but maybe you're not. Maybe you really have a tight group of friends, and a lot of your social comes from being engaged through a server or server community, or maybe a content creator has grown up a community. Maybe it's just a different game that has a large engaged user base, and so you make friends that way. That's very cool, and I think that's a changing part of our world, and very cool to share those parts of yourself. I think it's just one of those. Be aware that not everybody represents themselves in the best possible way when there's a digital divide, and you have to be a little cautious as you get to know those people. But I kind of got to that as Let's segue. Let me see how we're doing on time. It's only 45 minutes. We're doing very well. I think we'll get through all this. As kind of a segue, as I'd said yesterday, I got the chance to meet somebody, I say in quotes, through Twitch, somebody that had commented on one of my YouTube videos. They found me and dropped a comment, and I went back and checked out theirs, and definitely have enjoyed the style. I shouted out DJMC yesterday, and I had a blast. I've long been a fan of Twitch content, mostly as a lurker. I don't really engage. Again, I know that there's a much wider range of ages in Twitch chats than it would initially be guessed, and especially by younger people. Younger people are like, oh yeah, we're all in on the same memes and jokes and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of other people consuming that content too, and they're just kind of sitting back and rolling their eyes and letting you guys roll when it's a bunch of copy pasta or something like that. And that's why I'm not one that's going out for some of the super high emotion intensity content, and why this style is kind of unapologetically the opposite of that, right? I'm glad that there's a lot of people out there that enjoy that content. So, sorry, while we segue here, just noting, we hardly did anything to our fortune pick, which is reassuring because that was look at how much copper we now have. So we can do quite a project, I think, or at least get started on that. But I guess let's get that gold. I grabbed that gold. Yeah, so we'll check this. That's raw gold. Yeah, okay. Maybe we had tested this. I think we had, probably, right? We came back and did at least one batch of this when we first been to 117. We hadn't really done any focused mining. We just brought back what we'd happened to gather up as we were going, ooh, look at the textures. Ooh, look at how cool gold looks now. So that's good. That means we're gonna get a lot more gold out of this, and boy, do we need it. Making our beacon out of blocks put a big dent in our gold supply, and so this is gonna boost up the treasury, so to speak, right? We will go back on the gold supply. Well, we're gonna need another thing. We'll have to go gathering on apples. We are way short on apples now. But we can always use wood. We'll just go clear cut some obscure forest somewhere and gather up. Maybe some jungle. We'll need to do some jungle clearing at some point too. So all that would be pretty good. Okay, now how much of this can? Oh, perfect. So we can finish up here. Get back to the repairs on the pick, and this one should take a little bit because now we need to repair both picks, and they'll both be recovering here as we fortune this coal. You can see the Silk Touch pick in my left hand is bobbing. That's getting some XP. And you don't get that while you're swinging, but if you look close at the green bar on the diamond pick down below in the toolbar, that's the fortune pick we're swinging, right? It's moving right in front of us. It is also going up. So they're both getting repaired. Once the fortune pick is fully back up to speed, then we'll we'll be down to just our silk touch, and the rest of the stuff is all in good shape. Maybe our shovel there got a scratch, axe as well, and we can top them off, but those are kind of you break a couple blocks and you're going to be back with that first wear. The shovel looks like a little bit more than that, but not a lot. And through all of it, just kind of ping away here. We should get some more XP out of that cooking, and as we go up and down here, we'll kind of keep an eye out. I don't know that the flame in the ovens there, or the furnaces, is going to be the best indicator, because we have blocks of coal now, and they'll keep cooking long after all the iron is done. But we loaded up, 2+ stacks into each and every one of those, almost 3 stacks. So they've got some cooking to do. Hopefully, as we're just about done, they will finish up, and then we'll be able to switch them over to copper. We can run the gold upstairs. All of those will continue to cook, and we will be wonderful and happy. So I was saying I got the fun opportunity to hang out in a stream with DJ MC, DEEJAYMC, and he makes a series of tutorials on building in Minecraft. And I think I was talking so much about how the different ways and things I remember my dad teaching me. Another one that he said, I didn't intend to draw this out. I could go on for days talking about all my dad has taught me over my life. But another thing that he thought that it just struck me is, he always said, especially when I was learning sports, hockey in particular, and my dad grew up in the UK and didn't particularly play hockey, knew how to skate. We go down to parks and stuff and skate together, but ice hockey wasn't a big deal there. And where I grew up, it certainly was. So we played a lot. Whether it was hockey or anything else, he always used to say, even the best professional athletes, because every little kid is like, I want to be a pro athlete, and I'd say even the best pro athletes always universally say that there's more that they can learn. And I wish it was quite as cut and dry as he said. There's a bunch of short-lived careers in I think the NFL, but any sport where there's people that feel entitled. And I've learned a lot watching college football, which I didn't really watch much as a kid, and I've talked about this before too. My dad didn't have a particular tie to any university, and my mom went to a smaller school in the Wisconsin state system. So while she's got a loose association to the University of Wisconsin, it wasn't a, hey, we're going to watch those games every day. And her parents, her grandparents, or my grandparents, were from Florida and Georgia, respectively. And my grandpa was a Florida Gator. He went through the ROTC program there years and years and years and years and years ago. And so he was a proud Gator. He was probably the most passionate of anyone in my family about anything. And my grandma had gone to the Florida, I think it was the Florida Tallahassee Girls College or something like that. And that had been rolled into Florida State. So she had a Seminoles tradition a little bit. Again, it was kind of loose because they'd been merged. But those were kind of the various ties that were going on. And none of them equated to, you follow a college football program where I grew up, because there just wasn't the connection. Well, I went to the University of Colorado in the mid-'90s, and the Colorado Buffaloes had reached the pinnacle of sharing a national championship in 1990. So I came into a elite top level football program as a freshman, having never really, I'd gone to professional football games and things, but I'd never really gone to big time college football and found myself, dude, you're getting student tickets. That's what we do here. So there I am, rolling into a student section full of just crazy rabid fans, and fell in love with the game more so than my youth football had ever done. I didn't play football in high school or anything, so it's pretty limited. But that taught me as an adult, and with the internet and everything, I became a fan, and some of more my collaborative stuff was through message boards and fan news following efforts, things like that for recruiting. This whole idea of recruiting for football was crazy, but I find that as intriguing as the game a lot of times, especially recently. Anybody that follows American college football understands that there's been times over the past 20 years where it's been a little tough to be a fan of the Colorado Buffaloes, especially knowing that I came into it in the midst of, in the midst of a program right on the heels of a national championship, and with every expectation of having more, and that hasn't happened. But I learned to watch recruiting and how all that played out, how the challenges of Colorado competing with the likes of Alabama and Notre Dame and some of those kind of places. So I think that's fascinating. But there's a point to this. I've been tangenting here for a while, but we're breaking coal, so it's totally okay. The tangent is, you learn as you watch recruiting that there are a number of prospects that come from the high school levels into college. And, think about it. There are 200 and some top level American football programs in the college level, and there are countless high school programs and private school programs and academies and all that kind of stuff around the country. So every year in the spring, when they're going through recruiting, and high school kids are accepting offers and becoming, committing to a particular school, and all that drama that goes into it. It's such an inexact science, because you never really know. Just like they say with the NFL draft, it's the same process on a much larger scale at college recruiting. You never really know which of the kids are going to emerge. And the difference, always, it's universally said, it's not talent. And the talent at the college, at the high school and the college and the pro levels are all different tiers, but it's the same process every time. And the kids that become successful college athletes have more they've been able to cruise at high school level based on talent. Every single one of them. They wouldn't be recruited and they wouldn't get the opportunity if they didn't have the talent to easily outplay their competition at their high school level. And that's where some of the academies and things like that, this whole prep schools and basketball has done it a lot with the amateur junior leagues, where, kids are coming straight out of what's quote unquote high school to play in the NBA. They're playing club basketball really against all potentially NBA level players. And in college football in particular, you come out, let's say you're being drafted to be a linebacker, right? Your high school team, you led your conference, or went to state, and you had a zillion sacks and tackles for loss and interceptions and all that, because you were a beast compared to everybody else and just a monster in the game. Well, when you get to college, you suddenly find out that you're competing for a spot on a team, and then you're going to play against other teams where everybody was a monster compared to the other teams, right? Every single person that's trying to be a linebacker is just as big, if not bigger, and just as tough, if not tougher, and just as mean, if not meaner, everything else as every single one of uh, your opponents or your teammates. So all of a sudden, you have to find a new way to get an edge. And that is where understanding the game, hard work, dedication, all these intangible things that always get dismissed out of hand when, it comes down to like the NFL draft is what gets more publicity here. But, the NFL combine, for those of us in America who know it, it's basically just a bunch of dudes running around in their underwear getting measured. They do a few bench presses and sprints and stuff like that. It really shouldn't matter because, again, everybody that's being considered for the NFL is the top level of talent from college, right? These are the all conference people in college. They're the the all Americans, Heisman winners, those kind of people. They did enough to stand out to scouts at the college level, so they were above the average, above the norm, and they're competing for 32 teams. So yeah, it's a much smaller pool, and those people don't graduate in 4 years. So for every aspiring quarterback, there's an Aaron Rodgers or a Drew Brees who's been playing for 20. And apologies to either of those guys if they haven't been playing that long. I'm just saying you don't have a new pool of players every 4 years. They can play as long as they can, and the ones that last for 20 years, those are the guys that learn the mental parts of the game, and they learn the dedication so that they understand it's not just what I do on the field on Sunday, it's that I work every day all season, all off season long to make sure I'm ready to take full advantage and, really beat out everyone else around. Never got the shovel. Oh, well. Oh, wait, I can still... What I got? I got all these to do while we're waiting on that coal. Or the cooks. Oh, let's do these two while we're thinking about it. We can at least get... I think we got 3 stoves up here. Oh no, we have one outside too. And this should work for coal, or gold, I think. Okay, there's that. That, I thought about doing the downstairs one, but we'll just put it in here. Okay, those we can all top off. That was the one that was left short, although maybe we cooked more food in there. Okay. Gold is now cooking. We can go break these gems. Hopefully by that time the iron will be done. We can start the copper in these 8 stoves. Then we'll go run and fill the darkroom spawner cookers. And I wonder, well, I guess we're going to need the gunpowder anyway, so we can spend some time hanging out there. Not soon, because we've been talking a lot. We gotta get to some sand mining, right? Sandstone gathering and all that. Now we may go back to 7. Well, the first thing I think I want to do next is to go all beacon and how do I not have more redstone? Was I just too full? Yeah, it's gonna be nice to get. Oh, I didn't. Come on now. If we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it. Shovel still not done. Only 25? Man. Alright. Do we think we can hold all the redstone? That's a big question. But it should finish our shovel, that's for sure. So again, I want to thank everybody for hanging out as we do these rather boring tasks. I get it. That's a part of the Let's Stream and a part of what I want to share about Hardcore Vanilla. When you're watching somebody that's playing in Hardcore, even if they do a time lapse, if it's true Hardcore, then and that it has to be vanilla Hardcore. You can't have mods loaded in because I can get around this. If it's in vanilla and it's hardcore, you can't use any. All cheats are locked down. You can't do anything in terms of summoning blocks or anything like that. You have to do it real. Once you start getting into data packs and stuff like that, somebody may say, "Oh yeah, it's mostly vanilla, but we got a couple little minor tweaks in there." Not everybody plays the same, but I would just say understand that that does open up the possibility that they don't have to go do all their own mining or anything. They can just summon in things, and they don't have to do this kind of grind. But the reason I share all this is I think that the people who do play true hardcore and do awesome, magnificent builds, and there are a lot of them out there, people should be able to understand that they're putting in all this work off camera. And I just like to share it because part of what I'm trying to do is create that background community. If you're playing the game and want to have something you don't have to look at every single minute of, the beauty of YouTube is you can back up. If I suddenly blow up and lose this world, it'll be there. It's not going anywhere. And if you see it happen, then you can go back and see. But if you're digging out a basement in your own base and trying to get enough iron to have iron picks for everything, I can relate. And this is a good chance for us just to chat. So drop in comments if there's things you want me to talk about while we're doing some of these relative tasks. Hey, I'm game. I'm certainly willing to share thoughts or anything if there's something you're interested in or something you like to bring to Minecraft. Yeah, it'd be fascinating for me. Okay, now we might be getting close, but let's run upstairs with these, stash them away. As usual, I think it's very weird that we have just a perfect number of lapis. Seems strange. Oh, no, we didn't. Okay. Hold on. I guess it was that we got the perfect number of blocks there, right? Not quite full. What we're doing, if we ever get to redstone, I'm not a huge redstone guy, but I've certainly played with some various stuff. It'd be cool to get there. We can definitely make use of that. I'm excited about the wireless part. The wiring of the redstone is what always gets to me. I don't like having these huge, elaborate, buried structures just to try to get things jammed in. All right, so these guys. Oh, that one is good. And suddenly we are back to gold, which is nice. Anything to put in there? Nope. Got coal. We want to get the copper out, put that into the ovens, go to the dark room spawner, restock the coal there, and then figure out what we're going to do for our coal storage. We need a scullery. I think that's it. I believe a scullery. Well, maybe I'm wrong here. Ooh, we got all that iron too. Well, let's just cook these. What can we do here to see if we can calculate this? Oh, we're so close. Oh, here. No, that's not right. Uh, I don't know. I don't think I can. Wait, what is that one doing? Not full. Trust me, this is horribly painful. I understand that, but it will be better for us in just a moment. There. Perfecto. And boom. All right. So now we just go boom, boom, oh. Boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Copper's on. Okay, now we'll get there. Back through here. Now I know we're probably over, but this will be good to have done. We were long overdue a cleaning slash setup session. And we get to talk a lot about kind of the background of the world, sports. Oh, did I ever finish the whole talent and improvement stuff? As I said, the lesson was there's always room to improve, and the best pros, the longest lived pros, career-wise, not life, but ones that stick around in a league for a long time are the ones who understand that they always have areas that they can get better at. So when I watch JDMC doing a tutorial for, so we got stone and glass still cooking. Those are still all jammed up. That's good. These are getting low, so that box is now empty. When I go watch content, even when I see that his build is maybe a little more put into terms that would be welcome to noobs that haven't really played the game before and don't have a lot of experience. It doesn't mean that there's not a ton of stuff that I can learn in there, and I already have and do. And it's, we're all learning 17 at about the same time. I know JD had snapshots now. He was getting early opportunity to teach himself some stuff, and rightly so, because he gets questions from people like, how do I do this? How do I do that? You're doing tutorials, so therefore you should have answers. And that's kind of a little bit of something you take on when you are offering to share expertise. You can reasonably expect that people are going to want to know, hey, what do I do with copper? How do I work that? Me, I get the fun of, I don't know, and I've intentionally not tried to learn. Now I'm starting to research stuff when I get stuck, but having the the unknown is fun content-wise for me. I really get a kick out of not having all the answers and not knowing what to do exactly to make things work. So I'm going to stash one stack of blocks and kind of, as full as I can get here. That should set us up well for future torches. Um, so we don't have to keep running around. Now we're going to have a lot of copper. I don't have a specific use for it yet, but I do think internal buildings within the fortress walls could do a lot with copper. So I'm really excited to have it and start using it. But we got to get this big tower going. Again, people have probably heard me talking that may not have been back to the base too much, and we'll kind of go down here and jump up and if I can get on the scaffolding and not fall off. Come upstairs here. So this is kind of our front landward entrance. That's why we have a wall. And we sit on the end of a peninsula. Very defendable space from the landward side. We've built the wall that cuts across that. We're going to edge it off here. There's another little kind of sandbar that reaches out that way. And we're going to enclose this lagoon eventually so that we'll have kind of a safe harbor, protected anchorage for a ship or two, maybe a ship and some small boats. But on this corner, kind of facing away to the forest, and we've got a road going down there to the grand residential operation for shearing sheep. It's kind of a winding road that we haven't really built in. We've just cut it. We haven't laid any road yet, but we will, and that'll be a fun little project along the way, further down the road. But we want this to be a large, dominating tower, kind of on a par height-wise with the one opposite, but a little bit reversed, I think, in terms of using some redstone, and then we'll continue the walls with kind of a white with some redstone accents. So that's the plan. Now I'd like to have a little bit like the tower here, and I don't want to get these pillagers too looped in. A little bit of accent. I don't know if I want to exactly go that way though. I think we can do a little better. And I don't mind having some differences in style along. I'm not going to trash my gatehouse. I like it, I designed it that way for a reason. So it's cool, but like this one, we didn't have any redstone at the time, so acacia wood kind of became the accent a little bit, and we worked from there. Now, we didn't have anything in the smoker. Let's get the rest of our gold. There's some outside. Just finish up a little bit of this, and then we'll wrap up downstairs, waiting for our copper to finish. Hey, S'more, how you doing, buddy? It's good to see you. So, gold. I'm stacking those, so I guess we can block up some more of this just for storage space. See how it all sets up. Again, we're a long way from another beacon of gold, that's for sure. But we had enough, haven't been diligent to have our first one fully set up. Those pillagers are getting a little close, so let's run back downstairs. I still don't recall if we had a coal storage. I don't think that we did. But we'll maybe commandeer one of these chests. How are we doing here? Still quite a bit. I think I can remember this. Doubtful. Let's get a frame. Get 4 frames. Because I have no idea what's in all these. Oh, I do know that this is now netherrack. This is coal. One of these was stone. They're all empty. Oh, I can't do it here. Cool. And extra netherrack, as if we didn't have enough already. You know, this is kind of theoretically burning potential. That's full. We just haven't used it. This was our first automated cooker, and then we just kind of increased capacity. One thing that I learned, again, shout out to JDMC, who I got to watch yesterday. He was making this awesome tower base and hadn't just had a kid. So happy Father's Day, JD, if you happen to see this. But he hadn't streamed in quite a while, and so it was on for his SMP's stream day, and was, you know, kind of getting back to his big tower project, and just awesome. Like, you know, 90 blocks of vertical, and had done the smooth stone, which we used and cooked up quite a bit of. He used that for this whole tower. And I'm, you know, the whole time I'm not really saying anything, but I'm like, man, this guy's got to have just a crazy furnace setup to have cooked all that. Because, you know, our darkroom spawner for a while there, we were using all of that resource just to cook up stone. And interestingly enough, it was kind of at the end when he actually went in to get some more or something like that, and showed it. And he's got the water lava cobble farm, where, you know, if water and cobble mix, they will make cobblestone. We've seen that down in the caves. You can make that happen. So he had those just set up over hoppers, I believe. I've never actually done it too much. I always have too much stone anyway. But so he's got all those dropping into a set of ovens, just like what we had. Sorry, I went back upstairs to finish this episode. Oh man, no, we need to. This is so long. I apologize, guys, but I don't want to end up like, oh, hey, next episode, let's go, and then forget that we don't have our totem torches. Have an extra axe. Totem torches. Apple. More apples. Pick. What? Oh, did I put them over here? What did I do with those? Yeah, there. Whew. Talk about scaring yourself. Alright, now. Oh. Now. Got our full complement there of picks. We got an extra shovel. Oh, where is it? What did I do with it? Guys? Here, maybe? No. Somewhere we missed a box. Well, that's got something, but not it. How did we do so poorly here? Not there. Well, I guess we're going to have plenty of time in this next... There it is. Oh, man. Yeah, no. We'll wrap up here. We got all this to clean up now, too. What else did I miss? How did I do so badly at that? Okay, well, in the next episode, we will quickly. This doesn't need to. This is our supply, and what we can do is switch out these for iron. So we'll have our full iron beacon ready to go. Our gold one is still set up in the end. I'd like to use this because next up we want to go get our red sandstone. But as we do that, we want to gather up as much of the other supplies in the area as we can. So we're going to set a beacon with haste. And we're going to kind of do a big harvest in the mesa biome first. Get a bunch of red, get all the terracottas, all that good stuff, load up shulker boxes with all the goodies, and then bring them back. So that will be kind of our next big dig project. Hopefully we're going to center that on a mine of some kind too. We'll just go poke around, find one that we haven't played with yet, see what that does. In terms of getting us loot, it wouldn't be necessarily 17 loot, but we should get a lot more gold and coal and all that kind of stuff along the way, so it'll keep us well stocked into the future. But we'll switch those out. We will consider that one done. Oh man, this is how I get in trouble. Netherrack and some red stuff, and so it's all nethery stuff. That must have been from our initial working on the trails, but I ain't gonna look. We're so over 126. Man, see, I do one quick one and then I'm over. But I want to thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. All the views, all the likes, all the comments. Yeah, let me know if you like to play alone or if you've hit up on the SMP servers or what you're currently doing in. Are you still enthralled with 17? Are the wonders all there? We still have stuff we haven't even seen yet. Azaleas, moss, other stuff. We've got advancements to do. We've got to resummon a dragon to get the spyglass thing, which I totally forgot about. All kinds of good stuff to do. So lots more to come. But yeah, next time I think we head out to the mesa and see if we can gather up some good stuff there. Till then, take a break. Next episode should be up shortly, and I'll just encourage you guys to get up, move around, give your eyes and brains a break, take care of yourselves and one another's, and stay the awesome people that you are. Until we see you again, take care.